Still, many Nepalese students, they don't know that there are over 1,500 university, and many of them providing international standard educations in English mediums.
So we have various types of students, and one important characteristic of our school is that we are very interdisciplinary. So we have students from humanities, from social sciences and natural sciences.
Whereas the DC1 is for Japanese and international students, it's a bit more competitive and you need to be more familiar with the Japanese system. Both have their pros and cons, but I guess the DC1 fellowship is more prestigious and you are eligible for a research grant.
Tokyo University is the 26th in world ranking in 2019. In 2020 it has somehow deteriorated, and it was number 1 in Asian university ranking in 2019, which has slightly been down in 2020. However, still Tokyo University is one of the most reputed university from Asia.
Is that you need to be a national of conflict affected countries. We do not have any fixed definition of what conflict affected country is. As long as you can explain through your application that your country has been affected by conflict within your country or neighboring countries or conflicts happening elsewhere in the world.
You have to pass an admission test at the embassy first, and once you do that, you can only apply afterwards if you pass. So there are a few steps that you need to follow. If you apply for MEXT through the embassy, and there are other ways to apply. You can directly apply to the university as well. So I applied through MEXT, so that's my experience.
So we have an English medium program. When I say English medium program, actually you don't need any requirement for the Japanese language. All the courses, all the writing thesis, for example, everything is done in English.
If you would like to know more about our bachelor's program that is in English, you need to know a little bit of Japanese, but other than that, if you'd like more information, I can answer that later. But generally, a lot of people in the chat box have been asking about science and engineering or environmental or agricultural studies, which you can see on the slide here that we have.
So for all type of researches, either natural researches or biological science researches or social science researches or herbal medicinal plant researches, there is not a single country in the world beside Nepal which has got research possibility in most of the field.
Namaskar, konnichiwa, good afternoon. I am Jagdish Kharel. तपाईहरु सबैलाई यो कार्यक्रममा म हार्दिक स्वागत गर्न चाहन्छु. मिनासाङ व ओमकाय सुरुकोतो हो तोतेमो उरिशिकु ओमो इमास आरिगातो गोजाइमास. I would like to welcome you all. For the past 20 years, I have been working as a television journalist in Nepal through Image Channel Television. The contemporary issues like politics, education, health, and disaster management are matters of my priority and interest. With globalization, education is not bound in narrow circle. Now, the time has changed. We have reached a situation where we can easily pursue fundamentals to a higher level of education from different schools, colleges, and universities, not just the one in the country, but worldwide with different alternatives. In the context of Nepal, studying abroad has become a major attraction for the Nepalese student as well, from which Japan has become the second biggest destination. Last time itself, yearly more than 10,000 students were going to Japan to study. Japan at present is becoming a good destination for the Nepalese student. In the context of Nepal, studying abroad has become a major attraction for the Nepalese student. Definitely. What are the higher education opportunities for the Nepalese student in Japan? What kind of process should be followed by Nepalese students to study in Japan? How is the study environment in universities in Japan? How can scholarships and other facilities be available in Japan? Also, how many Nepali students are competent to study abroad? We will be discussing these and much more on this subject in the virtual conference being organized today. The Nepal-Japan Educational Dialogue will be 2 hours long. The keynote speaker of today's conference is Professor Dr. Dharmakanta Baskota, Vice Chancellor of Tribhuvan University, Nepal. There are important panelists for various universities of Nepal and Japan going to deliver presentations today. First of all, I would like to welcome Professor Dr. Khadga Kesi, Tribhuvan University. He is the Vice President of Japanese Universities Alumni Association Nepal, JUAN. Likewise, I would like to welcome Ms. Rie Ishida, Global Admission Office, Nepal, Ms. Sarasri Dhungana, Master's Course Student, PCS Course, Tokyo University of Foreign Studies, TUFS. Likewise, I would like to welcome Assistant Professor Dr. Chandrasekhar Goit, Graduate School of Science and Engineering, Saitama University. Likewise, I would like to welcome Dr. Ilna Job Dimitar, Graduate School of Advanced Integrated Studies in Human Survivability, Kyoto University. And I would like to welcome Assistant Professor Catherine Simpson, International Center, Shimane University. Likewise, I would like to welcome as a panelist, as a presenter, Dr. Shashwat Shresthamali, former Nepali student, University of Tokyo. And from the organizer, I would like to welcome Mr. Kazuhiro Mori, Advisor International Strategic Group Management Planning Department, the University of Tokyo. Likewise, Ms. Masako Sano, Representative International Strategic Group Management Planning Department, the University of Tokyo. And last but not least, I would like to welcome Dr. Dipesh Kharel, Researcher, Lecturer, the University of Tokyo. Along with more than 500 participants, teachers, parents, students, and concerned stakeholders are participating today's webinar. The first part of the program will be followed by the presentation on higher education opportunity for the Nepalese student in Japan and experience sharing by the panelists. And the second part of the program will be focused on Q&A session, sharing opinions and providing guidance to the interested student. You can put your questions regarding the programs through the message inbox chat from the beginning of the program. We will incorporate your questions in our Q&A session along with mentioning your name. But if you are interested in asking your questions yourself, you have to wait for the Q&A session. Now, I would like to heartily welcome you again, and I strongly believe that your active participation will make our program more meaningful and achievable. Now, I would like to request Dr. Dipesh Kharel, Researcher and Lecturer of the University of Tokyo, to highlight about the program. Dr. Dipesh Kharel.
Thank you very much, Jagadish-ji. Konnichiwa, Namaste, and good afternoon. First of all, on the behalf of Study in Japan's Global Network Project, the University of Tokyo, I would like to welcome the respected Vice Chancellors, panelists, professors from the university in Japan and Nepal, and all participant students, teachers, and parents. Today's the webinar's main goals is to fill informations and knowledge gaps between the university in Japan and Nepal, and also among the students and faculty. Specifically, the webinar give and exchange shares informations and create a dialogue and discussions about the higher educations and higher education opportunity in Japan. In the last few years, the number of international students is growing rapidly in Japan. There are now over 320,000 international students. And after China and from Vietnam, Nepali students community is the third largest groups, international student in Japan. However, more than 80% Nepalese students, they are the language students. So in general, the perceptions of study in Japan among the Nepalese students is studying language. So still many Nepalese students, they don't know that there are over 1,500 university, and many of them providing international standard educations in English mediums. In other parts in Nepal, the tertiary education students is growing, and today our partners, Tribhuvan University, one of the oldest university in Nepal, which has more than 11,000 college and campus affiliated and more than 600,000 students. But the potentiality of Tribhuvan University may not know by the many Japanese university. So today the webinars aims to fill these knowledge gaps, and through the keynote speakers, vice chancellors from the Tribhuvan University, and all the professors and the panelists from the different university in Japan and Nepal, from their presentation, exchange, and sharing knowledge, I think we can create fruitful collaborations and cooperations among the students and also between the institution in Japan and Nepal. And I hope this webinars also helps to further improve the relations in country levels and citizens levels. I wish the success, all the success and the good luck to all panelists and success of these webinars. Thank you very much.
Now I would like to begin this webinar with the first presentation from Professor Dr. Ilna Jov Dimitar, Graduate School of Advanced Integrated Studies in Human Survivability, Kyoto University. I would like to request you to focus your presentation on the higher education opportunity in Japan and especially in your university. The time starts now, sir.
Okay, can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, let me start with thanking the organizers for this excellent opportunity to introduce my graduate school. So my graduate school is called Graduate School of Advanced Integrated Studies in Human Survivability at Kyoto University. And also I would like to apologize that I will not be able to join the Q&A session because of unforeseen circumstances, but at the end of my presentation, I will leave my email address. So anyone who would like to ask questions about my school, about anything they would like to know about Kyoto University, please feel free to email me. All right, so this is just very short self-introduction. So I am originally from Sofia, Bulgaria, but I have been in Japan for quite a long time. And now at this school, my research is about the development of renewable energy in developing countries. And my work is mainly collecting data by doing field surveys in various developing countries. At the moment, I'm doing research on Vietnam, Indonesia, Myanmar, and Kenya. And these are some photos before the corona virus started to infect everywhere. And now about our school. So just very briefly about some attractive points. So in general, our school offers a 5-year PhD program to students from humanities, social sciences, and natural sciences. However, if students are interested to do just a master program and get a master degree, it's also possible to do a master program just for 2 years. So we have various types of students, and one important characteristic of our school is that we are very interdisciplinary. So we have students from humanities, from social sciences and natural sciences. And another feature of our school is that students and professors are doing research on global issues like climate change, economic inequality, pandemics, and other threats to the future of humanity. Also, we provide a nice learning and living environment near the center of Kyoto, which is almost free of charge. So in the next slides, I'm going to show you the residential colleges where our students live, and this Higashi Ichijo building where I am at the moment and where most of the classes take place. So thanks to this learning and living environment, students can communicate every day with other students and professors from different fields of study and background. And about 40% of our students at the moment come from abroad. We also have one student from Nepal, and we would like to have more students from Nepal if possible. So this is a photo where you can see two of our residential colleges. So here the students live. Every student has his or her own room. And there is also like a common space, like a kitchen where students can cook by themselves, a lounge where we have various activities. For example, some seminars, or just students can have some informal gatherings in that place. And this is the building where most of our classes are held. Our school is quite new, just created 7 years ago. So you can see the building is also very new. And as I mentioned, the education and research is interdisciplinary. And for example, we have students from natural sciences. For them, it's quite important not only to do their basic research, but also to connect with some real world problem in the society and try to find solutions. As for students from humanities and social sciences, for them, I think one important advantage from study here is that they can also gain quantitative skills. And these quantitative skills can give them the chance to provide better evidence when they propose some new policies. And in addition to that, all students can gain international and practical experience that can be very useful for their future career. We already have more than 20 graduates, so we already know that how exactly the skills that students acquire during the study at our school can be connected to their future careers. And some highlights from this international and practice education and research are given here. So we have a mandatory overseas internship. All students have to go for at least 6 months to an international organization, multinational company, international NGO, or university, where they can get experience and skills of working in an international environment. And for these 6 months, all travel and living expenses will be provided by our school. So this is a big advantage for students in terms of like international education. Also, we have the so-called project-based research, which is a kind of practice-based education and research where the students launch their own project and they can use their academic expertise for the solution of some real-world problem. And during this project-based research, they are expected to involve key stakeholders from the government, business, local communities, NGOs, and international organizations. I have to say that all these programs are possible because of our strong network. So we have MOUs with various international organizations, also with Japanese companies. So students, apart from what I mentioned, like overseas internship, actually students can also do some internships at Japanese companies and even like find work at Japanese companies after graduation. So I'm sorry for this like really brief introduction, but I understand the time is very limited. So I would like to finish my talk here. And as I said in the beginning, please feel free to email me if you have any questions about our school, anything you want to ask. So this is my email address and the website from where you can find more information. Thank you very much.
Now I would like to request Dr. Saswat Shrestha Mali, former Nepali student, the University of Tokyo. Would you please highlight your presentation focusing on the experience, study experience in Japan and the achievement in your life?
Hello, everybody. My name is Saswat Shrestha Mali. I am a researcher at Keynote University at the moment. And before we begin, I would like to thank Jagdish Thai and Dipesh Thai for inviting me into the program and giving me an opportunity to speak and sharing a platform with the other distinguished guests. So, konnichiwa, namaste, hello, everybody. So I'm a researcher at the ACSL laboratory, or we also call it the Kondo laboratory in Keiyo University at the moment. I started in 2021, so this year from April. I do research on quantum computing, machine learning, computer architecture, IoT, stuff like that. Before that, I spent 6 years in the University of Tokyo in the Nakamura Kondo laboratory. So it was, I researched on reinforcement learning and Internet of Things. And before that, before coming to Japan, I graduated from Pulsa campus in Nepal, of course. So this is just a brief history of what happened once I got to Japan, so that prospective students would know some sort of a timeline, what happens. So in 2015, in April, I arrived in Japan as a research student. So a research student doesn't necessarily mean you're a master's student. You need to give an entrance exam before you get enrolled into the master's program. So this was me, 2015 April, with my two professors. This is Nakamura Sensei, and this is Kondo Sensei. And so I gave my entrance exams for my master's in August, which I fortunately passed. As a result, I was able to start my master's in April. I had a chance, if I so chose, I could have started in, I think in October too, but I thought maybe 6 more months of finding or learning about Japan would be better. So I started in April and my master's. And I graduated in 2018 of March. At the same time, I kind of decided I would like to pursue or extend my master's into a PhD program. And at the time, I was sponsored by the MEXT scholarship through the embassy recommendation. However, what happened was after 2015, before 2015, it was kind of like if you were a master's student and you wanted to go to PhD, you could have the mixed scholarship would be extended. But after 2015, I think they said it's not guaranteed. So I had to try for the GSPS DC1 scholarship, which is a fellowship actually. And I fortunately got it. And so starting from April of 2018, I entered the PhD program with the GSPS DC1 fellowship. And I graduated just 3 years after, and I started my postdoc. So this is me after. So this is 2015, 2018. So now that we have some sort of a timeline, I want to show where we are actually. So we're in Japan. In Japan, this is Tokyo, and these is Saitama, Tokyo, Kanagawa, and Chiba. These are the 4 cities you'd probably I at least am most familiar with. And during my 6 years here, most of my time was within this area. So in 2015, when I first got here, I was in the Komaba campus. That's where Komaba Lodge or dormitory. That's very near where the Komaba campus is, and that's very near to where Shibuya is, which is one of the most fun or densely populated part of Tokyo. The actual university is over here, and I lived after 1 year in the Komaba dormitory. I lived for a year after a year in the dormitory, I lived for the other 5 years in this apartment. which is very close to another city center called Ikebukuro and about 20 minutes from my campus. So it is a very nice place to live. About the funding, I just want to give some basic idea, the difference between the MEC scholarship and the JSPS DC1 fellowship. So the MEC scholarship is for international students only, whereas the DC1 is for Japanese and international students. So it's a bit more competitive, and you need to be more familiar with the Japanese system. Both have their pros and cons, but I guess the DC1 fellowship is more prestigious, and you are eligible for a research grant, which is about 800,000 yen per year, which allows you to use it for your own personal research. So I use this MEC scholarship for my research student and master's time, whereas the DC1, GSPS DC1, I use for my PhD. Of course, I would be happy to answer any questions later in the Q&A session. So I just want to say, why Japan? Why would anybody want to study Japan as in contrast to US or anywhere else? And I asked a lot of my friends, and with my own personal experience, I guess the main three things I could say was, first, you get some sort of financial security in the sense that the scholarship, at least the MEC scholarship, and even the GSPS is provided by the Japanese government. So it doesn't really depend upon your professor. You are funded by the government, not a particular person. So you don't really need to always look behind your shoulder. And that gives you some sense of security. The other is that the Japanese system is very well organized. So as soon as you graduate, and if you want to get into the job market, there's a very systematic job hunting process, and there's a job for everyone. And given that, especially if you end up in Tokyo, almost all companies, not all, but majority of the companies in the world have their branch in Tokyo. As a result, you get a lot of, opportunities. And I think one of the most advantageous part of studying in Japan is that it is research-based, in the sense that the focus is on innovation. You're not doing coursework. You're not trying to rote learn. You're not trying to just learn what has already been said, but try to find new things. And I think these three things already make it a pretty strong reason for why you should be in Japan. But there are more reasons, and I could go on and on and on. But Jagdishji, please let me know if when I have like a minute left, so that I can kind of terminate my talk. But because I forgot to keep track of time. But basically, you are in Japan, and you get all sorts of a variety of experiences that you could find all over the world. For example, if you look at this picture, you're actually seeing a white Pandit. He's I don't know where he's from, but he's definitely not from South Asia. And this is a ISKCON temple near Tokyo, where Hindu people go to do their worship and all of that. And it was a very surprising experience for me. Tokyo, if you look at Tokyo, is a very if you are in the LGBTQ community, Tokyo has a very vibrant LGBTQ community where you can participate, have fun, all of that. It's very inclusive. And given that you're away from home, doesn't mean you have to be away from your family and friends, because like Dipista said before, there's a very vibrant Nepali community here. If you look at this picture, these are where I'm having Dasein celebrations with some of the students from Tokyo Tech and University of Tokyo. You get to meet a lot of international people, have experiences that you wouldn't find normally in Japan, in Nepal. And the other very important reason, I would say, is the food. You get food from all over the world. It's a really eye-opening experience, actually. And there are even more reasons. It's very beautiful. Like there's, for example, if you look at this dinosaur, I was walking along a park and I saw this dinosaur, just a random dinosaur in a park. You've got one of the tallest buildings in the world in Tokyo. So this is very Tokyo-centric because I've lived in Tokyo for a long time, but the rest of Japan is also not that different. You've got Mount Fuji. You can this stadium here is the Olympic Stadium, so that's saying something. And so, I mean, I don't think Japan has to argue too much about why you want to do your higher education in Japan. But if you do, then there are three pieces of advice I would like to give. First is that humility and honesty are your best policies, in the sense that if you learn to listen, and if you gain the trust of the Japanese people, or of anyone in general, it will help you in the long run. So the other would be, although you don't need Japanese to do your master's and PhD, it would help you a lot, because it helps you to live in Japan very easily. And thirdly, if you do have a plan and you know what you want, it actually makes a lot easier for Japanese people to help you and for you to get what you want. And with this, I did have more reasons, but these are pretty self-explanatory. And so with this, I will conclude my presentation. This is a picture I took of the autumn foliage not a few days back. It's very beautiful now in Japan. So yes, if you have any questions or anything, I would be happy to answer them in the Q&A session. Thank you very much.
With this, now I would like to start another presentation. We have one of the pioneer professor of Tribhuvan University, Professor Dr. Khadga Kesi. He is the Vice President of Japanese Universities Alumni Association Japan, JUAN, and Professor Dr. Khadga Kesi, he studied in Japan, he studied higher education in Japan, and now contributing in Nepal. His significant contribution for these countries make us so proud. Now, Professor Khadga Kesi, I would like to request to start your presentation. Dr. Khadga Kesi.
Thank you very much, Jagdish. Konnichiwa, minasan. I wish I could speak in Japanese if there were every Japanese audience. However, before I start my presentation, I have to apologize for not making a PPT. However, I can speak hours often because of my experiences, probably, which is a bit different than what my predecessors, friends, young like Sasuji, he made a very like eloquent and graphic or pictures to kind of like externally wonderful presentation, so that I would be a bit like, somehow under the shadow of Sasuji, the young scholars who is still working in Japan. So I can just like categorize in three part of my speech, and I will make available my slides later on. How like Japan had this much like enriched intellectual history, and why you are looking for the study in Japan, and what are the best like things what we could learn from Japan. So these are my three like aspect of my speech for 8 minutes. So Japan is the most civilized country from Asia. So normally Japanese hardly accept that we are part of Asia. Their civilizational like story largely learned from the West in modern civilization. So that especially after Meiji Restoration 1867, they started education reskipped, and there was before Meiji, before Middle Age also, they do have a Terakoya, a famous Japanese schooling system. Tera means temple, mandir. Terakoya is educating in the temple. So that was a very famous Japanese schooling. So that was the foundation of Japanese education system and Japanese intellectual history, which was further advanced by after 1867 modernization of Meiji Restoration. So Japan sent a very special mission to Europe and United States of America, Iwakura Mission, 1860s. Iwakura Mission is an official mission of the Meiji Japan, sent thousands of Japanese youths to Germany and United States to study science and technology and social sciences with the Japanese state-funded scholarship. And many of them, almost every one of them, came back to Japan, established industry like Mitsubishi, Toyota, Nissan, and university like Tokyo University, Kyoto University, like Imperial University. 47 Imperial University and all industry were established after those graduates came from Europe and Japan after Iwakura mission. So then what I just would like to share about Todai, Tokyo University. Sashwatji has already shared a lot of things. Why we want to like pursue higher education in Tokyo University being an Asian. Tokyo University has produced 18th Prime Minister of Japan. 18th Prime Minister of Japan, and Tokyo University has conferred 10 more like Tokyo University graduate and professor got conferred Nobel Prizes. And there are so many scholars, so many scientists, so many artists, so many celebrities, and Japanese like tycoon, economic tycoons, many of them, they graduate from Japan at Tokyo University. So that Tokyo University is the 26th in world ranking in 2019. In 2020, it has somehow like deteriorated. And it was number 1 in Asian university ranking in 2019, which has slightly been down in 2020. However, still Tokyo University is one of the most like, reputed university from Asia. And so studying in Japan, why Japan has one of the very important aspect of learning in Japan is Western science and technology and Japanese ethos, Japanese values. This is the blend of what we couldn't get in North America and Western Europe and Australia, New Zealand, and Northern Europe. So probably they do have modern education and science and technologically advanced education. However, in Japan, we have almost very similar values. As Sashwatji has shown that there is a Hindu temple in Tokyo, so many Buddhist keras, temples everywhere, every hook and corners of Japan. So we can go everywhere. We can always worship Buddhas. So we feel always home-like while we are in Japan. So culturally, Japanese are the most humble people in this universe I have found because of my experiences of 7.5 hours education in Japan. So they are rule-abiding, the most rule-abiding people in this world, none other than Westerners. They are very sense of responsibility. So that I started somehow musekinin. There are some Japanese friends in this seminar. So musekinin means not like accomplishing the responsibility. So sekinin means sense of responsibility. So they are the most responsible like citizenship in the world. So we could learn what Sashwatji has shared with us, innovation, science, and technology. And more than that, we could learn for like values, culture, discipline, those what we could learn from Japan. In Japanese, like one scholar has Itobe, Professor Itobe, he has written a book called Bushido. Bushido is a very famous Japanese social science like book, which was published in early 19th century. It has highlighted 4 major values of Japan, traditional values, which are still foundation of Japanese modernity, like sense of responsibility, sekinin, rule-abiding culture, loyal to authority, and these are the 3 fundamental. And there are some other like kunini aichuru, that are very strong nationalism, and gambaru, which is a Japanese word. Gambaru is working hard, dignity of labor. And there is another word of Japanese word, akiramenai, means do not give up so that you will get success. These are the fundamental values what we could learn from Japan except modern education. So now how we could get facility from Japan, government scholarship, if you apply for Japanese government scholarship through Japanese University and also Embassy of Japan in Kathmandu. So when Sashwatji has shared that probably the scholarship stipend has gone down. During our time, it was $2,000, Sashwatji. We used to get per month, Nijuman rupee, Nijuman. 2,000.
That's a lot.
It has been gone down. However, Still, it's quite handsome perks like $1,500 per month scholarship. So there is one of my students, Sarasri Dungana. She has recently got that scholarship in studying. She is one of the speakers here. So that would be very enough for you or to focus on your study. You'll get to your ticket if you get a scholarship from Japan. Your professor will sponsor you when you go to the any conferences during your study. There's so many research fund facility. Your like tuition fee will be really exempted, and so that Max scholarship is one of the most like luckiest person who received the Max scholarship, because if you receive Max scholarship for masters, normally you get up to postdoc level. If you get scholarship in undergrad, if you perform well, if you satisfy your professor with your work, you'll continue undergrad to masters, PhD, postdoc, and some of them even started to work after their postdoc in Japan, where you cannot get in OSCED, you cannot get in Fulbright, and even you can get in the Nordic countries scholarship. You have back home after your master's. So that these are the very good things what if we apply in Japan to be a students of Japan. So I'm so lucky being graduated from Japan, because I could get full Max scholarship from master's to PhD and postdoc. And again, I got a Japan Foundation Fellow at Kyoto University. So that I'm really much happy, and it's because I could get a bunch of time to study without working because of that scholarship. And whatever I could learn from Japanese society, Japanese values, culture, that has become the way of my life. I'm trying my best still. Because of my Nepali DNA, probably I cannot copy paste whatever Japanese have been practicing. However, I'm trying my best to learn from Japan, especially the time value, sense of responsibility, and don't give up, the nationalism, loyalty to authority. These are the fundamental values what I'm trying to adopt in my professional life back in home. So that I always would like to encourage every youngsters of this country, which then Rana Prime Minister Dev Shamsher Rana started in 1903. We were the first country sending 8 students to Japan in 1903 as per the Look East policy of Nepal. Only Southeast Asian country, Malaysia, Singapore, they adopted Look East policy in 1960-70, but Nepal started in 1903 because our cultural proximity is with Japan. So that I always would like to help, encourage, facilitate any anticipated, any aspirant students, those who want to go to Japan for further study. So I will help you all and facilitate you all, and I would be more than happy to correspond or suggest, and probably I will share my email ID as well. And so that it's a great opportunity today to having connected with the many young students of Nepal and scholars from other countries. So thank you very much, Jagdishi and Dipeshi, for this opportunity. And again, apologize for not having showing some glamorous slides because of my very rush-like schedule, flying back from Pokhara, and so that I couldn't manage. So that it seems like that I'm a bit musekin. Thank you very much once again. I will be happy to answer any questions later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Khadga Kesi, for your wonderful speech and presentation based on your experience, your achievements, and your observation. So it is more than the slide that you have delivered your speech, and it's really fruitful and meaningful for those who wants to go Japan for the higher study. Indeed, it's really exciting, and I'm so happy that a lot of participants, students, they are raising questions, focusing on especially academic program, admission, scholarship, study environment, and future career. And I would like to request to all the panelists, please focus on this issue also, that the student are also raising the question. And dear participant, once again I would like to request you to put the questions on in chat box, and if you want to ask the questions directly, please wait Q&A session. Now I would like to request Miss Rie Isida, Global Admission Office, and Miss Sarah Sri Dhungana, Master's Course Student, PCS course, Tokyo University of Foreign Studies, to focus your presentation on scholarship, academic program, and study environment.
Thank you very much for the introduction. And first of all, I would like to thank the University of Tokyo for organizing and host this wonderful event and giving us this opportunity. So I understand that many of the participants today are very much interested in the admission and scholarship issues. So I would like to focus on those issues. And today I have one of our students, Shara Sri, to share her experience. And she's one of the Japanese government scholarship students. So I will ask her to share her experience about how she applied and afterwards. Okay, so let me just briefly go over our university. We are Tokyo University of Foreign Studies, located in Tokyo, about 30 minutes of a train ride from downtown part of Tokyo in a very quiet residential area. As our title shows, we specialize in foreign studies, meaning in mainly international studies and language studies. Unfortunately, we do not cover science-related field. Okay. Today, we will mainly go over two programs. Both are offered in English, meaning that there is no Japanese proficiency requirement when you apply for the program. And both of the program provide pre-arrival selection, meaning that you can apply directly from Nepal. You don't need to come to Japan to take the entrance examination. So let me first explain about this master's program on Peace and Conflict Studies course. Sarah Sri, who is here today, is one of the students of this Peace and Conflict Studies course. It is a 2-year master's program, and the degree granted upon completion is Master of Arts in International Studies. We accept new students in October of each year. And what is the main feature about this is that apart from it is being held in English and that you can gain some unique opportunities to learn the critical approaches to the global issues, probably this may interest many of you. This program is attached with the Japanese government scholarship opportunity. Before I go into the details of this scholarship, let me also note that we have a very strong alumni network. From Nepal, this Peace and Conflict Studies course, we had about 3 or 4 students in the past, and Shara's 3 is one of them who are studying right now. And we do have a strong alumni network connecting our alumni with the current students. And we have this alumni workshop every year to exchange our views from all over the world. Okay. And some of the classes that we have is listed here. Such as Foundation of Human Violence and Group Conflict, Gender and Peace, to name a few. Most of the students will take up an issue regarding their own country as their master thesis. However, some students have decided to take up some specific issues regarding Japan, such as the US-based issue in Okinawa, or the Article 9, or some kind of law-related issues related to Japan. Now, this is about the Japanese government scholarship opportunity. I mentioned before that you can apply to this program through pre-arrival selection, meaning that you can apply directly from Nepal. You will be sending your application documents to our university, and the interview will be held online using the facilities such as Zoom or Skype. And if you wish to study under the Japanese government scholarship, which is attached to this program, you need to meet some additional eligibilities. I have listed some of them here. Number 1 is that you need to be a national of conflict-affected countries. We do not have any fixed definition of what conflict-affected country is. As long as you can explain through your application that your country has been affected by conflict within your country or neighboring countries or conflicts happening elsewhere in the world. You also need to be a holder of an excellent academic record. There's also an age limit. And you also need to provide with the English proficiency test score. And as I said, you can apply together with the course itself. Apart from this Japanese government scholarship, we have another financial support for the students of this Peace and Conflict Studies course, which is the admission fee and exemption and the tuition exemption. If you have been granted admission as the top 5 student under the privately financed student, you will be given this opportunity. So our recommendation is that you to prepare your application very well. As for the admission information, we are about to announce the information for our 2022 program very soon. We do expect to announce it by mid-October, which is next month. Application period runs from early January. But those who wish to apply for this PCS course with the Japanese government scholarship opportunity, deadline will be in early February. So we recommend you to check this URL frequently from December to see the most updated information for the next admission. And also, let me just note another doctoral program which is offered in English. It is called the Joint Doctoral Program for Sustainability Research. As this title shows, it is jointly offered by 3 universities: Tokyo University of Foreign Studies, Tokyo University of Agriculture and Technology, and University of Electrocommunications. As you can see from these 3 universities, it is a combination of humanities and sciences. Please check out the details from the link here, or just send us an inquiry to our global admissions office at gao@tufs.ac.jp. For this joint doctoral program for sustainability research, we accept students twice a year in April and October. As the April 2022 admission is already closed, our next intake will be for October 2022. Please check out the details from the link here, or as I said, please contact us at the Global Admissions Office at gao@tufs.ac.jp. Now, I would like to introduce our student, Sarah Shree. I believe she will have a very important and very beneficial information to provide you with her very, I believe, good experience that she is having now in Japan. Okay. So, Sarah Shree, may I ask you to take over?
Yes, thank you, Ishida-san. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I think I have very few minutes left, so I'm just going to briefly talk about my experience applying for my master's in Peace and Conflict Studies at Tokyo University of Foreign Studies. I'd first like to thank Dr. Karga Casey because he was the one who first advised and suggested me to apply to the MEX scholarship. So I wouldn't be here without his guidance. So it's really nice to see him again after a long time. So I applied to the MEX scholarship from the embassy. And the first thing that I had to do is fill the application details and then apply, write about what I want to research about in Japan. And so it's the embassy that actually first, you have to pass an admission test at the embassy first. And once you do that, you can only apply afterwards if you pass. So there are a few steps that you need to follow if you apply for MEX through the embassy. And there are other ways to apply. You can directly apply to the university as well. So I applied through MEX, so that's my experience. I see a few questions in the chat room about whether you need Japanese to apply or not. Since I have very little time, I can give my email ID to some students and I can share my experience via email if you want more details about how I applied. But there are different criteria for bachelor students, for master students, and PhD. I think particularly for bachelors, you would need some Japanese experience. For masters, in my university, Tokyo University of Foreign Studies, I did not need Japanese beforehand. So I just needed very basic Japanese skills when I applied through the embassy MEXT scholarship. So that's what I want to talk about. So I'll give my email ID to the students here. So anyone who wants to ask me questions about how I applied, what my experiences have been in Japan, I can share with them personally. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Sharasri. Do we still have some time?
I think 1 minute more.
1 minute, okay.
1 minute, Alice.
Well, probably Sharasri can give today's participants some very simple tips on what they can do right now. Do you have any tips for them, Sharasri?
Yes, just a basic tip would be to make sure you know when the MEXT, if you want to apply through a scholarship, MEXT scholarship, just know when the applications for every year will open. I think it opens somewhere around springtime, when the embassy will let you know when it opens. And then based on what your requirements are and what you're trying to apply for, whether it's language or bachelor's degree or master's, you can look for more details through the embassy. Yes, I can give, I see Henny. Yes, I can give my email. Thank you for the questions in the chat.
Thank you very much. I believe that's it from our side.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sharasri Dungana, for sharing your admission experience as well as the study experience in Japan. And I would like to express my sincere thanks to Rie Ishida, Global Admission Office, Tokyo University of Foreign Studies, for your presentation focusing on scholarship, academic program, study environment in Japan. Once again, thank you so much. Arigato gozaimasu. I'd like to highlight more about the dear participant. This program is organized by Study in Japan Global Network Project, the University of Tokyo, and we have very strong partner, Tribune University and Media Helpline. And dear participant, once again, I would like to encourage you to put the question, to raise the issue directly or indirectly. If you just want to ask the question indirectly, just put your question on inbox chat. If you want to ask the question directly or visually, personally by yourself, please wait for Q&A session. Now I would like to request Assistant Professor Dr. Chandrasekhar Goid, Graduate School of Science and Engineering, Saitama University, to focus your presentation on higher education opportunity in Saitama University. Professor Dr. Chandrasekhar Goid.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for the kind introduction. And I would like also to thank the organizer of this event. Very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chandrasekhar Goid, and I'm associated with Saitama University. Just let me quickly share my screen. Okay, so I would like to, keep it short. Maybe within 8 minutes, I'll try to wrap up. But there are a lot of content that I wanted to talk. So you have heard already about the life in Japan and like how the life and the work ethics and so on. So today, what I'm going to talk, I'll skip that part, though I have prepared that part. I will go directly jump into what are the opportunities, for example, higher education in, particularly in the research. And today my focus will be the International Graduate Program on Civil and Environmental Engineering. So my content today is based particularly, I'll give brief information about Saitama University from where I am, what are the graduate schools and what are the offered programs we have. And I'll talk in details about mostly on the International Graduate Program on Civil and Environmental Engineering, and what are the available scholarships that you can apply, what are the research that you can carry on here in Saitama University, and what are the student activities if time allows at the end. So first of all, where is Saitama University located, for example? I think we all know the map of Japan, and I think earlier one presenter already talked about Saitama, Tokyo, and Narita, the Chiba, where it is. So basically, we are here. This is Tokyo Station, and this is Saitama University, and this is Omiya. Omiya is the capital of Saitama Prefecture, so each prefecture has their own capital. So basically, our university is in the periphery of Tokyo Prefecture. So it gives a good access to either you go towards the Tokyo or you go towards the Omiya side. and it's not so far from the airport where you usually come. The brief information about, I'll send the links, all the links I'm going to talk today in the chat box, so please feel free to go through those links. The main page is here, and you can find English page is available. First of all, I'd like to talk about the overseas partner university, what we have. Actually, one of our partner universities is also Tribhuvan University. So besides Tribhuvan University, I think we have more than 85, let's say, Asian universities, European universities, North Americans, Caribbeans, for example. So we have a huge connectivity among, and many students, for example, come under the exchange program and so on from these partner universities. So brief about the information of the Saitama University itself. I'd like to give a brief facts and figures. So first of all, it's a national university. It is established in 1949. We have more than 8,300 students enrolled as of current. This is the date as of May 2021. And this is the distribution among the undergraduate, master's, and the doctoral students. To support this, we have more than 460 university faculty members, and the university has 5 faculties. The 5 faculties are, as shown in this slide, the Faculty of Liberal Arts, Education, Science, Economics, and Engineering, where I belong. So there are various departments within the Science and Engineering, and there are a range of subjects that is being taught here at Saitama University, from mathematics to biology to in the Faculty of Engineering, from mechanical engineering, applied chemistry, and eventually the civil and environmental engineering. Information about the graduate school. So we have 3 graduate schools. One is the Humanities and Social Science, Education, and Science and Engineering. As I said earlier, I'll provide the link in the chat box a bit later, so please feel free to go through the link. So I'd like to just show here about the Graduate School of Science and Engineering. The first about the Graduate School of Science and Engineering. So we have an English medium program. When I say English medium program, actually you don't need any requirement for the Japanese language. All the courses, all the writing thesis, for example, everything is done in English. So we have 2 main programs. One is the International Graduate Program on Civil and Environmental Engineering, and the second one is the International Graduate Program on Environmental Science. Let me show in detail here. So under this program, we have 1 program. However, under the Environmental Science program, we have quite many. Environmental Science, Mechanical, Mathematics, and Functional Material Science as well. So because I belong to the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, I'm going to talk a bit more detail about this department. So we have 5 research groups, which covers the wide range of civil engineering aspects. So one is the geotechnical, that deals with geotechnical and geospatial aspect. Earthquake disaster. For example, in Japan, as you know, that there are quite many earthquakes. So our research group for earthquake disaster and prevention group is quite strong. We have structural engineering, mechanics and material group, hydraulic engineering, as well as transportation planning. So 5 this group covers wide range of research projects. And what are the fields of study? What can you study here? These are the simple, some of the topics that I have listed here. These are not comprehensive. These are not all. Some of the topics are listed here. So now let me get to the International Graduate Program on Civil and Environmental Engineering. The program actually started in 1992. So actually it's quite an old program. And as already mentioned earlier, the medium of program is in English, and the student actually enroll in postgraduate. So unfortunately, there is no no undergraduate program. There's a master's and doctoral program. And we have various scholarships for students from developing country. And we have quite many students from Nepal. Actually, I'm going to talk a bit later. So we have a Ministry of Education MEX scholarship. So MEX scholarship, you have already heard from the previous speaker, like we have embassy recommendation. Beside the embassy recommendation, there is also the university recommendation as well as for example, for university recommendation, you can simply apply, and we'll apply, like the university will apply, the university will recommend your name to the Ministry of Education. So that option is also available. These are the number of scholarship that is available. Other details actually you can find on the university website. So also we have ADB, Asian Development Bank scholarship, World Bank, also the JICA scholarships, and so on. More than 685 students from over 30 countries have enrolled in Saitama University, particularly in this program. And this actually shows the list of the international students who have graduated till April 2021. And you can see here, Nepal stands here in the center, like 71 is quite, I think it comes one of the top three. We have many from Sri Lanka, Vietnam, as well as the third one, I think, is Nepal. And beside this Asian country, we have also from New Zealand, the student from New Zealand and African countries as well. So as the time is running out, I would like to wrap up maybe slowly. Well, I'd like to give some simple research. This is the research. Why I put this research here is like this is completed recently by one of the graduates from Pulsar campus who did a PhD, who just graduated. His research work was particularly in the focusing on the concrete engineering aspect. So that's why I just simply put it here. And also, like we have a different research area. I'm not going to in detail because I think I'm almost about 8 minutes up. So I'll just skip these slides. And beside the our program research, we also have like all the time this gathering, the events where all the faculty members and the students actually get together, like this party here you can see in the top. Also, we have various lab parties, we have sports, we have festivals within the campus where the international students from different countries, they gather together. And how to contact, the information I will be sharing very soon, but feel free to use these programs, and you can contact us very easily. Beside that, you can also connect us via Facebook. We have a dedicated Facebook page, and all the updates actually are available on this Facebook page. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much for your kind attention. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me when in the Q&A time. Thank you, moderator. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Assistant Professor Dr. Chandrasekhar Goit, Graduate School of Science and Engineering, Saitama University, for your wonderful presentation. Now, I would like to request, this is last but not least, I would like to request Assistant Professor Catherine Simpson, International Center, Shimane University. I would like to request you to focus your presentation on higher education opportunity in Japan. Professor Catherine Simpson.
Thank you very much for the introduction. And again, as all the other speakers have said, I'd like to thank our sponsors for this event today, the University of Tokyo. It's a pleasure to be here, and I would love to present to you Shimane University. So please allow me to share my slides. All right, so I will start again. My name is Catherine Simpson. I'm an assistant professor at Shimane University in the International Center. Shimane University is a national university. So in Japan, you have public, private, and national institutions. National institutions are usually cheaper, but I will mention too that Shimane University is a partner university of Japan University. So you can go on exchange for, say, half a year or a year, and not have to spend any money, well, aside from living expenses, but not have to pay tuition. So I will mention that, but mainly today's talk will be on graduate courses that you can take as if you decide to enroll as a master's student or as a graduate student at Shimane University. So first of all, where is Shimane Prefecture? Shimane Prefecture is about an hour and 15 minutes or so by plane away from Tokyo, and away from Osaka, it's about 4 hours by express train. And Shimane is this pink part on the map, and we have these lovely islands called the Oki Islands. Shimane Prefecture is a very historical prefecture. We have two national treasures, Matsue Castle, which is one of the last existing castles and originally existing castles in Japan, and Izumo Taisho Grand Shrine. We also have Iwami-Ginzan silver mines, and that are now not working, but the remains are still there, and a very strong Japanese tea culture. So Also, I'd like to say that we have two campuses, the Matsue campus and the Izumo campus. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the graduate courses that we have here. We have a master's course and a PhD course. Both of them are offered in English. If you would like to know more about our bachelor's program that is in English, you need to know a little bit of Japanese, but other than that, if you'd like more information, I can answer that later. But generally, a lot of people in the chat box have been asking about science and engineering or environmental or agricultural studies, which you can see on the slide here that we have. There's also information systems design and data science, which is basically IT. So I saw a lot of IT questions as well. And then we have our doctoral course, our PhD course in the Graduate School of Natural Science and Technology. It's the same school. You're studying almost the same material, but at a much higher academic level. So here there's only one major, but you have two different courses, Science and Engineering course and the Science of Natural Systems, Science of Natural Environmental Systems course. And again, you'll see the same sort of materials here that you saw in the master's degree course. So chemistry, architectural science, life sciences. Again, we have our IT field here, electrical and electronic engineering. So I'd just like to present that. We do have, again, our bachelor's course that follows the same sort of structure. It's in the same schools. It's just an undergraduate faculty. It requires a little bit of Japanese and for you to take a couple different tests. So I can put more information in the chat box there if you would like later. Entrance into Shimane University. So because Shimane University is a national university, these costs are all about the same for all national universities in Japan. So you have all currencies are in Japanese yen, but we have your admission fee and your tuition fee. Your tuition fee is per year and your admission fee is a one-time payment. There's also, if you're not studying on exchange and you're studying as a self-supported student, you have the option of getting a tuition exemption for spring semester privately financed students. And this is particularly for graduate students. And you can get a full exemption or half exemption. It just depends on the university's budget and how many people are applying, and also your grades. Again, I would like to stress that we do have the Graduate School of Natural Science and Technology, the master's and doctoral course I just talked about. We do have at our medical campus, the Izumo campus, the Graduate School of Medical Research. That is also offered in English. I did see a question about that, but that is not in today's talk. So if you'd like more information about that, please ask later. So to get into the graduate school, you need to have first contact a professor, and here's a link to, I can leave this in the chat if someone would like, but this is a link to the researcher's database. So to find a professor which matches with the research that you either have done as an undergraduate or that you would like to do as a master's or a doctoral student. And then you need to prepare a field of study and research plan. So again, I believe these documents are going to be available to you later, but there's a QR code for you to scan to find the information later. Enrollment, this is the basic schedule. I'm not going to go through everything, but for the master's and doctoral degree for the Graduate School of Natural Science and Technology, we have an April enrollment and we have an October enrollment. In October enrollment, as well as April enrollment, they shift if we have a second period of enrollment. So say the first enrollment application period is not full, then there's a second application period. So please be careful to watch our website and to see when the materials are due. But this is the general first selection process information. just very quickly, if you want to get a job in Japan after your studies, then we do have international student help as well. And then the last thing I'll mention is that we do have Japanese language supplementary lectures. So they're not for credit, but if you'd like to study some Japanese, we have what's called Yasashi or Easy Nihongo Japanese 1 through 4. And we have Japanese for graduate school students and for the JLPT N1 through N5 test preparation. So I'll leave this slide up for just a second. This is the end of my presentation. There are 2 videos with English subtitles that you can watch. And then if you our contact information here as well, I'll put that in the chat box. And then this is a QR code to the graduate school. So again, I believe these materials will be available to you later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Catherine Simpson, for your wonderful presentation. Along with this, I would like to thank to all the panelist presenter for your very wonderful presentation. Dr. Saswat Sreshtamali, likewise Professor Dr. Khadga Kesi, Assistant Professor Catherine Simpson, Dr. Ilan Job Dimitar, Assistant Professor Dr. Chandrasekhar Guid, likewise Miss Ria Isida and Miss Sarah Sri Dhungana for your wonderful presentation. Indeed, it's really valuable and significant for the Nepali students who wants to go Japan for the higher study. And with this, just I would like to mention you again that this program is organized by Study in Japan Global Network Project, the University of Tokyo in partnership with Tribhuvan University and Media Helpline. Now we have the keynote speaker, the Vice Chancellor, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Tribhuvan University, Professor Dr. Dharmakanta Baskota. Dear sir, I would like to request you to deliver your speech. It would be so kind and nice that if you could focus your speech on the strength of Nepali student and Tribhuvan University, as well as the probable strong partnership with the universities in Japan and Nepal, and guidance and way forward for the future quality education. Professor Dr. Dharmakanta Baskota, I would like to request for your keynote speech.
Thank you, Jagdish ji. Thank you very much for your kind invitation. Distinguished professors, academicians, researchers, scholars from different universities of Japan, media persons, and students present in this great interactive webinar. Good afternoon and namaste from Tribhuvan University. Really, it gives me an immense pleasure to be the part of this interactive program entitled Higher Education Opportunities in Japan, jointly organized by the University of Tokyo, Study in Japan Global Network Project. Before moving to the topic, let me share with you about the brief introduction of Tribhuvan University, as we have different professors, academicians from different universities of Japan. Tribhuvan University is the pioneer multidisciplinary public-funded autonomous university of Nepal, established in 1959. It has 5 technical institutes, 4 faculties, 4 research centers, 4 schools, and 40 central departments. Under these institutions and faculties, our university is running 62 constituent campuses and 1,060 affiliated community and private colleges spreading throughout the country, that is in 76 districts out of 77 districts of Nepal, and accommodating more than 400,000 students. The university is running more than 300 different undergraduate and postgraduate programs, and we have approximately 80% load of higher education of the country despite establishment of several new universities in the country for last 2.5 decades. I like to share a proud reality here is, till date, almost all the ruling and opposition party leaders, including prime ministers, ministers, judges of the courts, parliamentarians, high-profile officials, government officials, policymakers, planners, technical experts, vice chancellors of university, security officials, media personnel, and prominent figures of the society are the product of Tribhuvan University. For the promotion and dissemination of these glorious facts and aims of our university, I had declared 15 points to reform plans in the University Senate within a month of my appointment as a Vice Chancellor of the university. Among these 15 points, one of them were to convert you as a research-based university, and other one was the internationalization of Tribhuvan University. But why I have to highlight these 2 points here in this webinar? What is the logic behind it? First, why research is so important in the university? Because our country is suitable and virgin land for any type of research. Within 150 kilometers of wide, we have all types of climates, right from the tropical to throughout the year snow-covered climate, all types of plants and faunas. Herbal medicinal plants like Titepati, Panchaule, Jethi Madhu. I'm talking in Nepalese. Herbal medicinal plants like, Titepati, Panchaule, Jethi Madhu, Gurjo, Guchichao, and Yasaguma, which is also known as Himalayan Viagra. Similarly, precious woods like Tibeksha, Gobresala, Rudraksha, Raktachandan, and so on. Various types of birds and animals, various minerals and precious stones, various types of vegetables, fruits, cereals, or food. Likewise, only among 330 millions of total population of the country, 30 millions total population of the country, we have more than 60 ethnic groups, having more than 120 different languages, cultures, dresses, food habits, festivals, rituals, and many more. Most importantly, all of them have common, original Nepalese hospitality based on Atithi Devo Bhava. Among 10 highest mountain peaks in the world, we have 8 peaks in our country, not only having full of natural beauty, but also carrying glaciers, lakes, waterfalls, and many more. So for all type of researches, either natural researches or biological science researches or social science researches or herbal medicinal plant researches, there is not a single country in the world beside Nepal which has got research possibility in most of the field. Therefore, being the authority of Tribhuvan University, it is my duty to disseminate this information to the academicians, faculties, scholars, researchers working on different well-known universities of the world and attract them for the collaborative research with our faculties of Tribhuvan University to fulfill my reform plan. This could be possible through our brand ambassadors like Tribhuvan University alumni, Tribhuvan University products who are working or doing research in different universities of the world, including Japan, especially like our alumni, Dr. Dipesh Kharel, doing research in the University of Tokyo. So if more Nepalese students and researchers will get opportunities to study or to do research in abroad, more information of Nepal we could disseminate among foreign scholars, faculties, and researchers. And we could attract them more for collaborative research, no doubt, which will definitely help us for the internationalization of Tribhuvan University, which was by another reform plan of Tribhuvan University. Till that, we have done MOU with more than 165 different universities of the world, including 14 different universities of Japan. This type of interactive webinar organized by the University of Tokyo and the Study in Japan Global Network Project will definitely provide more information, create an awareness and attraction to our Nepalese students, and will open wider horizon to study in Japan in days to come. No doubt, university must be a place of creating and disseminating knowledge and skills, enhancing wisdom, doing researches, leading to innovation, and many more. So this is the right platform to share our knowledge, experiences, get information regarding higher education, explore possibilities to get scholarships, and many more. Finally, I'd like to thank the organizer, especially Dr. Dipesh Kharel and Madam Kharel from University of Tokyo, and journalist Jagdish Kharel for inviting me in this great interactive event. Similarly, through this webinar, I would like to invite all of you, especially our collaborative partners, international agencies, scientists, and researchers to proceed for collaborative research with our faculties of Tribhuvan University for the innovation. As I already mentioned that our country is suitable and virgin land for any type of research. I believe that this forum could be a good start for further collaboration and initiation, as well as good source of information for our students and faculties to study abroad, particularly in Japan. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I would like to express my sincere thanks and gratitude to the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Tribhuvan University, Professor Dr. Dharmakanta Baskota, for your inspiring speech, inspiring keynote speech, highlighting the strength of nature, strength of Nepal for the research, as well as the partnership between Tribhuvan University and the universities in Japan and around the world. And indeed, dear sir, I would like to express once again, thank you very much for your wonderful speech. Definitely, Japan is an important destination for higher education. As a result, nowadays, a huge quantity of Nepalese students are going to Japan to study. We hope that this conference has helped all students to be clear on various questions like why do we have to go Japan for higher educations, what kinds of higher education opportunities are available in Japan, what kind of procedures do we have to follow to go to Japan for higher educations, how is your future secure after higher education in Japan. We also expect that this program will help to increase partnership, cooperation, goodwill, and coordination between Nepal and Japan educational institution in future, like Tribhuvan University and the university in Japan and all the universities in Nepal also. And moreover, we also expect that this program help to increase the partnership between Nepal government and Japan government also. Finally, we are very thankful towards our keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Dharmakanta Baskota, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Tribhuvan University, Nepal, all the respected panelists, students, and all the participants. Your time and presence was very precious for us to make today's event a grand success. All the colleagues have played an important part in today's webinar. Your efforts, time, and presence has made this webinar more successful. So thank you very much and congratulations to all the colleagues for this success. Once again, we are very grateful towards the Study in Japan Global Network Project, the University of Tokyo, for organizing this important program, and we are very much grateful towards the Tribhuvan University and Media Helpline for the strong partnership. Once again, thank you very much. We believe this kind of program can play a very important role in strengthening and intimating the relationship between Nepal and Japan. I hope and also strongly believe that the contribution will be made from the Nepal government organization and Nepalese people to profound relationship between Nepal and Japan in coming days. With these regards, finally, I would like to inform you that this program has been completed here. Have a great time, stay safe, take care from COVID-19 as well. Thank you very much. Namaskar, sayonara.